I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, in just several hours, a rash of shootings in Toronto. One sends 2 teen boys to hospital.
It's tough any day, but especially on Father's Day, and many of us are fathers, and this hits home.
We're on scene of all 4, the latest from police and witnesses. Plus,
now we're having to figure out ways to try and fill that gap.
Concerns over food shortages at summer programs for kids and youth.
It's about time that Canada comes to see Harry Potter. Yeah.
Full of magic and illusions from beginning to end, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child officially premieres in Toronto.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Thanks for joining us on what has been a violent day in the GTA. 4 separate shootings in Toronto, all just hours apart. Let's take you through what we know. The most recent happening here in Scarborough. This footage just into our newsroom now. The call came into police just after 8 o'clock tonight. When officers arrived, they found 4 people suffering from gunshot wounds. The victims are all adults, 3 men, 1 woman. Officers described the scene as large.
We believe that the suspect or suspects, because again, we're very early in the investigation, may have left in a white or light colored Honda Civic. This occurred at a unsanctioned car meet here in the parking lot behind me.
So one other detail from police tonight, there were a lot of high-end vehicles at that car meet. Anyone with information is asked to call police. So earlier, it was an afternoon of brazen shootings in broad daylight. 1 man is dead, 3 others fighting for their lives tonight, including 2 teenagers. Dale Manukduk picks up the story from here.
At 2:42 this afternoon, Toronto police received a call of gunfire at this apartment building near Humber Boulevard and Alliance Avenue. Around 15 shots rang out.
That it is quite extensive. There's a number of areas that are of concern to us, not only forensically, but of course in terms of a canvas. We have 2 large buildings on either side of us, which means the potential of a lot of people that would have seen this, and also then would have been probably victimized by the shooting.
2 teenage boys, 15 and 16 years old, both suffered gunshot wounds and were rushed to hospital in critical condition.
I mean, 15 shots. There's a lot of kids that play around here, bike ride and everything. They could have shot them, and they're innocent. I mean, they're 15 and 16. They're kids.
The Guns and Gangs Task Force and community officers were on scene. Police are looking for multiple suspects, although no descriptions are available. 5 kilometers away near Caledonia and Lawrence Road West, another shooting. A man was found without vital signs.
They went pop, 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 really loud, let's say. First thing I did is call 911 at 4:22 I got at it. We need to really do something about crime in Toronto. As you notice, you hear about it every day, and who's really doing anything about it?
Plenty of residents in the area looked on, several consoling one another.
It's definitely brazen. You know, broad daylight on Father's Day, on a nice day on the weekend. And again, we take every single shooting incident very seriously, and we want to reassure the community that we are here for them.
Just 2 kilometers away and only 7 minutes earlier, police responded to this location near Lawrence and Allen Road. A man was taken to hospital with gunshot wounds and is in life-threatening condition. It's too early to tell if these incidents are connected, but police are asking that anyone with information contact them. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
And to Brampton next, where 2 men are dead after an early morning shooting just outside a banquet hall. The property manager says it happened just as a Father's Day event was winding down.
Last night was a great event inside. It was a bad happening on the outside. The persons of who's dead and the person suspect, whatever, they was not allowed inside of the facility.
Peel police were called to the convention center around 2 a.m. When they arrived, they found the 2 men. One was pronounced dead, the other taken to hospital where he died. So far, no information is being released on their names or ages. The banquet hall manager says he had 36 security guards on duty at the time. He says he has released surveillance video from inside and outside the venue to police. We have an update now on that disturbing incident on a TTC bus on Friday. A 33-year-old Toronto man has been charged with attempted murder after a woman was set on fire. The incident now being treated as a hate crime.
In this instance, again, being random, obvious cause of concern, but we need, again, it was the quick act of Good Samaritans that were on the bus that helped and aided to this woman's aid for assistance.
Tenzin Norbu faces 3 other charges, including assault with a weapon. He appeared in a Toronto courtroom Saturday. He's due back in court tomorrow. Police were called to Kipling subway station on Friday just after 12:30. They say a man poured a liquid substance on a woman and ignited it, causing a fire. Now, the latest update from police on that woman, she suffered life-altering injuries. Meantime, police have made an arrest after a woman died of severe burns in hospital on Saturday. She's being identified as Henrietta Visky. Police found her suffering from severe burns after reports of a fire in Scarborough on Friday. She was taken to hospital where she died. 38-year-old Norbert Budai has been arrested. Charges are pending. Well, in other news tonight, one more COVID travel restriction is set to lift tomorrow. Air passengers can now board a plane without proof of vaccination, but another hurdle remains. The ArriveCan app, as Talia Ricci shows us, it's a problem for those who make a living from tourism.
Warmer weather and weekend foot traffic have returned, but for specialty shops like this one in Niagara Falls, things aren't quite back to normal.
I think we have to take a little more step to make it easier to come in and out. That will help the whole entire tourism in Niagara region.
According to this business owner, what's still missing are the American tourists.
In the border, there were some challenges with the Arrive Canada application.
Tourism is the lifeblood of border cities like this, and to get it fully flowing again, mayors are calling for the ArriveCan app to be scrapped. But the transportation minister says the app will stick around for now.
We continue to have a vaccination requirement for international travelers, and this is a tool to ensure that the passenger has the documents required.
The government recently dropped a number of travel health measures, but filling out this app and providing the address of a place a traveler could quarantine remains in place. The mayor of Niagara Falls says the extra red tape is threatening their economy.
Between July 1st and Labor Day is when we make 80% of our revenue. And unfortunately, the messaging going back in the US right now is that it's very difficult to get into Canada, and a lot of people are making the choice to not come.
Those who did still come say losing the extra step would have saved them time.
A lot of work. It's a complicated process.
I wish it was just come in and go without all these, these hoops that you have to jump through.
The CBSA says it plans to add customs declarations to the ArriveCan app. This tourism expert says in the meantime, it should be paused.
It's just causing lots and lots of delays and a lot of frustration for people who are trying to go back and forth across our border.
And businesses say potentially stopping people like this from paying us a visit.
I love this place. It's beautiful.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Niagara Falls, Ontario.
A beautiful Father's Day this Sunday. Hopefully you had a chance to get out and enjoy the sunshine with some family and friends. Speaking of friends, one of our good ones is here. Sophia has our first look at the forecast.
Thank you, Shannon. Hello, everyone. Yes, it was a sensational weekend for Dad. A great Sunday for Father's Day and a great weekend, really, if you're a fan of low humidity and cooler than seasonal temperatures. I got a teaser for you. The heat lovers will rejoice in the long range. If you're a fan of the winds, it was also a good past couple days. Even throughout Sunday, we still had that 40, 50, 60 kilometer an hour winds. I don't know about you all, but the plants in my garden are nearly bent over from a few breezy days that we've had. The winds of change are here, though. A southerly flow will gently usher in a long-range pattern that will feature a lot of heat and humidity. Monday, though, is just the start of it. Seasonal values and some showers and a chance of some heavy rain. We'll detail that in a minute, but I also want to mention for the kids as they start the first day of their last week of school, pretty high UV index. So keep that in mind when you're getting ready in the morning. Monday throughout the day, let's talk about that. Risk of showers into your afternoon and evening could be pretty heavy, especially if you're here anywhere kind of cottage country south, right to the QEW and 401 corridor. Later in the evening, all these bands of rain along a warm front that pushes in will shift further into eastern Ontario for the dinner hour in the nation's capital region. It really brings in the warmth for Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll talk about what will feel like the 40s when we come back.
Ooh, okay. Thanks, Sophia. Well, returning to in-person programming for kids this summer should be something to celebrate, but some program organizers say they're scrambling, trying to get enough food to feed everyone. Delia Ashry has more on what's behind the food shortages.
In our cooler, we have stacks and stacks of dairy and produce and some proteins, but as you can see, it's not full.
Inside this local food bank in the west end of the city, less food on the shelves means less healthy and nutritious snacks and lunches for youth enrolled at local summer programs. Nichols says the demand has increased.
In a COVID world, we had about 2,000 kids that we were supporting, and this year we've had requests for over 6,000.
Community-based basketball program in Toronto, Layup, is designed for children and youth 6 to 14 years old. It serves those in vulnerable communities and relies on organizations like Second Harvest.
If we went from 240 kids to 500 kids, like we have 550 registrations right now for 240 spots. But could we afford to foot the lunch bill and snack bill for that many kids?
Penrose believes Layup isn't the only program impacted by food insecurity this summer.
School does provide a lot of access to nutrition. In the summer months, there's that gap, and community programs fill that gap. So now we're having to figure out ways to try and fill that gap.
Hundreds of skids are transported in trucks. But Nichols says with gas prices skyrocketing at the pumps recently, that means transportation is another cause of concern when it comes to food shortage.
A huge supply chain issues. So even transportation, including like the fuel or the freight to get food to where it needs to go, has jumped up about 38%. So moving food is huge.
This week, Layup is launching its Food for Hoopers campaign, hoping to raise funds for nutritious meals for local youth.
Whether you're just like a basketball fan that thinks it's amazing that kids are going to be able to have this summer program, or you want to support, or if you're an organization that can really support some of these food security organizations that are doing great work so that they do have the resources to return to this kind of programming, I think that full range is what I'm hoping for.
Delia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. What a weekend to be in Montreal. 20 of the world's best race car drivers were back for the Canadian Grand Prix, and what a crowd. More than 100,000 enthusiastic fans raring to go. It was the first Formula One race in Canada since 2019. Matt Demore was there.
Lindsay Young got to the track early.
We drove all the way from Ohio, and we have our general admission passes, so we wanted to be the first ones here so that we could choose our seats.
Hours later, she and tens of thousands of other F1 fans got the moment they'd waited for.
And the Canadian Grand Prix returns to the Formula One calendar. It's lights out and away we go.
Grand Prix weekend finally back in Montreal.
While it's busy down at the racetrack, it's the same story here in downtown Montreal, where race fans and owners of hotels, bars, restaurants, and shops have been gearing up for a very busy weekend.
Bartender Dave Lanamitz poured drinks for a packed house ready to celebrate.
It was to the point where you've got lineups down the street, the phone's ringing off the hook. Everyone's in a great mood though, so it's really, really nice to see. Even the staff is excited just for the aspect of being this busy again.
The Grand Prix brings in millions of dollars to the economy, with about half of the visitors coming from outside Quebec. Great news for COVID-weary and labor-strapped shops, restaurants, bars, and of course, hotels.
Our staff worked, longer hours. Some of our hotel were like 100% booked. The average booking rates or the occupation rate is 96, 97%.
There was plenty for visitors to do downtown, including a tire-changing practice station.
People can even try out a simulator to see how they would do on the track. We're pretty good at this.
But the main draw was the real race and the heart-pumping finish.
He sees the checkered flag and will know what it's like to win the Canadian Grand Prix.
Reigning world champion Max Verstappen made the best of his pole position advantage, capping off this comeback weekend with a first-place finish. Matt Damour, CBC News, Montreal.
From 4 wheels to 2, there's calls in Ottawa tonight for the city to get rolling with a bike-sharing program similar to one Toronto has. Giacomo Panico has more.
One of the challenges of public transit is getting riders to and from OC Transpo stations. So the advocacy group Bike Ottawa says it's time the city makes the investment in bike sharing.
Something like a bike share would allow people to get a bike near their home or where they're starting, then bike to the station and leave the bike, and not have to worry about maintenance or who's going to take their bike while they're gone.
Thanks to an app and GPS, users could find the nearest bike at a docking station and rent the bike by the minute, much like the e-scooter program, but with some advantages.
People are typically willing to bike a little farther than they would go on an e-scooter. So if you're going 5 kilometers, you might not want to actually ride a scooter for that length of time, but you would bike. And also, the bike-sharing bikes typically have baskets on the front, so they're more practical for carrying things.
Many cities, including Toronto and Hamilton, subsidize their bike-sharing programs. In Toronto, it's run by the city's parking authority. Over the past dozen years, the capital region has seen a number of attempts fail. Critics say that's because they were being run as a for-profit business, which this councillor says needs to change.
There's a public benefit to having high-efficiency biking in the city. It actually saves you money as a city compared to driving or taking transit.
The city determined in a report last year that launching a bike-sharing program would cost $4 million. Operating it in-house would cost the city $700,000 per year.
So you think about $4 million to get a bike share going that could be in almost every part of the city, connecting with our $7 billion LRT. It's a huge, important investment that pays dividends, and it's a small investment for a lot of bang for your buck.
CBC Ottawa asked the chair of the city's Transportation Committee, Councillor Tim Tierney, to comment, but he never acknowledged our request. However, these transit riders were happy to share their thoughts on bike sharing.
I think that'd be a pretty good idea. It seems like a lot, like the worst of the transport comes in just waiting between when you get off your train to when your next bus comes, and that last bus is just a tiny little hop.
I love to do that. I love biking. It's great exercise. They got it in Toronto. We should have it in the capital.
The next city council, following this fall's election, will be the one to approve the city's updated transportation master plan. Giacomo Panico, CBC News, Ottawa.
Luminato is now officially wrapped up for another year. It was 11 days of free concerts, dance, theater, music, and art, including augmented reality.
When I found augmented reality, it seemed like the best way to share my art, because like my audience could put it on their land or like where they're from, and it was almost like a collaboration.
That's Quinn Hopkins. He is a multidisciplinary artist making augmented reality experiences. As part of Woodbine Weekend at Luminato Festival, he's just released 7 new AR creatures representing the common clans of Anishinaabe culture.
I feel like I'm just showing what the spirit world is showing me, and then I'm able to show it to the world through the lens of their phone.
The 24-year-old from Toronto says he's inspired by summers he spent visiting the Bechuana First Nations with his grandma. He's studying at OCAD-U and hopes to keep creating and sharing the visual culture he grew up with and loves. The magic is finally here. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child officially premiered in Toronto tonight. Fans have had to wait a long time for the production to arrive on Canadian stages. We were down at Mirvish Theatre earlier this evening to catch up with some of the people who brought the show to life.
It's magical, and I am very excited about it. You know, I've seen it grow, and we've waited so long because this is something we planned several years ago.
Just an amazing company of artists that have been waiting 4 years to do this show, so it's about time that Canada comes to see Harry Potter.
The show is full of magic and illusions from beginning to end.
And as an audience, when you watch it, one of the great funny things to see is people say, how on earth did you do that? How did you do that? How did you do this? Of course, we're not telling anybody.
Illusions, movement, there's 75 choreographed transitions done to Imogen Heap's incredible score.
I think it couldn't open on a more appropriate day. It's opening on Father's Day, and if you watch this show unfold, you'll see why this is such a wonderful day to have its first opening night type of performance. And this is the right moment to introduce this show.
And so whether you're familiar with the Harry Potter canon or not, the story at its heart will speak to you because it really is about family and friendship.
So I'm glad theater's back. This is a good moment, and I just hope everyone will have a wonderful time.
A lot of people looking forward to that one. Well, the heat is on the way, big time. Hey again, Sophia.
Yeah, so we talked earlier about that heat that is incoming. Let's lay it all on you now, day by day. Monday, though, seasonal. There's that chance of showers and rain that you could have in the second half of your day. Watch Tuesday and Wednesday. Daytime highs in the 30s, feels like in the 40s. And folks, this sticks around for much of this upcoming work week. This is the culprit. Massive heat dome, bringing extreme heat to millions of Americans stateside. In fact, it brought really dangerous heat and humidity to the prairies throughout much of Father's Day. It shifts further to the east, and it's our story for a two-day heat event, really Tuesday and Wednesday. It is brought in by this warm front. This is your chance of storm energy that you've got Monday afternoon and evening as this warm front shifts further towards the east into eastern Ontario into Monday night. Some heavy rain could come sporadically throughout your Monday, as will that heat and humidity creeping into southwestern Ontario. Fast forward to Tuesday, and it's across the board, feeling like the 40s right from Sudbury to Windsor, and it really moves in for those of you into Ottawa by Wednesday, and it sticks around the GTA. And in fact, we stay above seasonal for much of the long-range pattern into next weekend. Wednesday, we've got a home TFC game. We'll have to watch the growing chance of storms for that. And the long-range pattern says we could be rejoicing in summer-like heat and humidity almost until Canada Day. So good news for you and I, Shannon. But for anybody that's susceptible to heat-related illness, we're approaching some dangerous and really sticky type territory for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes, definitely got to keep the water on hand. Thanks, Sophia. Well, that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to leave you now with some pictures from Fort York Indigenous Arts Festival taking place this weekend, all in celebration of National Indigenous Peoples Month. We'll see you again soon.